It was so much. Just 1 second. Yes. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम् नमा ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. We are discussing from the Ramayana and we have started Balakanda. Hopefully we should be finishing Balakanda in another 2 sessions after today, or maybe 3 sessions after today. We'll be done with Balakanda. So what I will do is, as always, we kind of rewind and we redo all the content that we have done in the earlier classes, and then we go ahead with today's content. So we'll follow the same pattern. I'll review the previous classes very quickly in a fast forward fashion, and then we'll get started with today's class. कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं वाल्मीकिर्मुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः शृण्वन् रामकथानादं कोनयाते परां गतिम् वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसि जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदप्राचेतसा दासीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकीशोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम् मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि आञ्जनेयमदिपाटनालनं काञ्चनाद्रिकमनीयविग्रहं पारिजाततलुमूलवासिनं भावयामि भवमाननन्दनं यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् जयत्राशतसन्त्रासध्वान्तविद्वांसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योम भास्करः श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं श्रीराम नाम वरानने. Quick review of what we have seen so far. We started off with the very first verse of Valmiki Ramayana, which is Tapasvadhyaya Niratam. In this verse, we saw that Valmiki had some questions that he wanted to ask, and at that time, Narada Muni appeared in front of him. So he asked Narada Muni, Konasmin Sampratam Loke Gunavan Kascha Viryavan. Who is there in this world currently, now, who has 16 different qualities, 16 beautiful qualities? And then we saw the definition of some of those qualities, and the answer given by Narada Muni was, right now, the person who's existing here, the one who was born in the Ikshvaku dynasty, known as Rama by name, by all the people, is the one who's the abode of all these different qualities. And he encouraged Valmiki to write the entire Ramayana by giving him the Sankshepa Ramayana, or the essence or the seed verses of the Ramayana. After that, Valmiki, he went to take a bath in the river Thamasa, and there he saw two Krauncha birds. One Krauncha bird was killed by the hunter, and he spoke a curse. But that curse actually became the Mangala Shloka, the first shloka, the very first shloka of Valmiki Ramayana. It was actually a blessing shloka instead of being a curse. Okay. Then, after we saw that, we saw how Valmiki began to write down the entire Ramayana. He had a very beautiful vision. He was able to see the past, present, and future. He was a contemporary. He was there at the time of Lord Ramachandra. But he could see the events that had already happened, the events that were happening, and the future events as well. So he composed 24,000 verses with 6 cantos plus one canto, which is called as the Uttarakanda. He taught this Valmiki Ramayana to the two sons of Lord Ramachandra by the name Lavakusha, who were there in his ashram, and they learned the poetry or the ballet very nicely, and they went and performed in different places, in different towns and villages. And they, in fact, went to the capital city, Ayodhya. There, they were invited by Lord Ramachandra to recite the entire Ramayana in front of everybody in the palace. So, while Lord Ramachandra was hearing the Ramayana, which is also called as Sitaya's Charitam Mahat, which is also Paulatsya Vadam, he was very captivated, and he went and sat amidst the audience, and he keenly listened to what these two boys were reciting. Then we saw how these two boys started chanting the story of the Ramayana. So they first described the great city of Ayodhya. Then they described the people of Ayodhya. And they said the leader, the king of Ayodhya, he was very, very successful. He had a glorious kingdom. All the people in his kingdom were very happy. But he had one unfulfilled burning desire. That is, he wanted to have a son. So, to actually have a son, he knew the way out is Putra Kameshti Yajna. But then to perform the Putra Kameshti Yajna, he had to perform the Rajasuya Yajna. That way, he would get rid of all the past sins. So he consulted with his minister cum charioteer, Sumantara, and Sumantara already said that long time ago, it was predicted that you will have 4 sons from the Putra Kameshti Yajna, and you must bring Rishyashringa, who is your son-in-law, to perform the sacrifice. So the great sacrifice began, and when the sacrifice was going on, in the sky appeared Lord Vishnu. The Devatas who were waiting for the end of Ravana appealed to Lord Vishnu. They surrendered unto him. This is called as the very first Sharanagati mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. Ramayana is also called a Sharanagati Shastra, meaning a Shastra, a scripture that teaches Sharanagati from beginning to end. Sharanagati is the essence, Sharanagati is the beginning, Sharanagati is the end, Sharanagati is the middle. So the Tatparya Nirnaya, the essence of the very scripture, is Sharanagati. So this was the very first Sharanagati that happened. The demigods, they surrendered unto Lord Vishnu, requesting him to descend as the son of Dasharatha. So the payasam was given, the queens became pregnant, and eventually Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna were born. The Vanaras also took their births. Then, very quickly, without much mischief, Lord Ramachandra, he grew up, and Vishwamitra appeared on the scene. Vishwamitra, he went and requested Dasharat Maharaj to spare the elder one, who has Kakapaksha Dharam Shuram, who's got beautiful curling locks decorating his cheeks, who's the Jeshtaputra, the older son. So he went and he asked, I want your older son. Dasharat almost swooned. But then he was encouraged by Vasishta, and Dasharatha allowed Ramachandra and Lakshmana to go to the forest with Vishwamitra. Why did Vishwamitra want the sons to come with him? Because he wanted to protect the sacrifice and kill some demons who were troubling him. While going to the forest during their journey, Vishwamitra taught 2 mantras, Bala and Ati Bala. Using these mantras, these boys were blessed with the powers of not getting tired, not getting fever, or not getting disfigured in any way. So they proceeded further into the forest, and we also saw the beautiful Kausalya Supraja shloka. And Vishwamitra, like a very responsible grandfather who was taking these two 12-year-old boys, he was telling them many, many stories. So we saw 9 different stories that were told by Vishwamitra to these two boys. So, what are those stories? The story of Kandarpa or Kamadev, the story of Sarayu, the story of Tataka, and then once he said the story of Tataka, we also saw how Lord Ramachandra actually killed Tataka. Then Vishwamitra, he started giving many divine weapons to Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmana because the demigods, they were so pleased that Lord Ramachandra had killed Tataka. They requested Vishwamitra, please bestow all the divine weapons unto them. So they received both Astra and Shastra, and we saw the different Astras and the Shastras that they received. Then Vishwamitra continued on in the journey and they reached a place called a Siddhashrama. There in Siddhashrama, Vishwamitra, he told the story of Vamanadev. Then they proceeded to the forest again and Vishwamitra entered Maunavrata because he wanted to really start the sacrifice which spanned over 6 days. On the 6th night, which is towards the end of the sacrifice, Vishwamitra knew that Subahu and Maricha would be coming this way. So Ramachandra was already alerted that Subahu and Maricha would be coming. And during the night of the 6th day, what happened? They started seeing droplets of blood and they realized that Maricha and Subahu were up in the sky. And Ramachandra, he shot the Manavastra and flung away Maricha hundreds of yojanas away, and today that island is called as Mauritius. Then he shot the Agnyastra and burned down Subahu. Then Vishwamitra, he glorified Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmana, and he was extremely happy with their services. This is the reason why the two boys were taken with Vishwamitra to actually deal with Tataka, Maricha, and Subahu. Then they proceeded further. The sages were present there in Siddhashrama. They all said that actually Janaka Maharaj is performing a great Dhanur Yajna. He's in possession of the Shiva Dhanush, and yearly there is a big festival that is celebrated to worship this Shiva Dhanush. So you should also go there. We are planning to go there. So we request that Ram Lakshman should also come with us because these boys seem to be very good Kshatriyas. They are able to wield the bow very nicely. So with Vishwamitra's permission, they proceeded further and they reached the river Sona. And there they heard the story of Brahmadatta and they saw the city of Kanauj. We saw how Kanauj gets its name, Kanyakubja, how the 100 daughters of Kushanaba were disfigured by Vayu, and later Brahmadatta restored them to beauty. Then we saw the story of Kaushika and Kaushiki. So Vishwamitra's name is Kaushika because he comes in the dynasty of Kusha. And Kaushiki is a sister who also flows as a river, and she's called as Satyavati. I asked you all to remember specifically the name of Vishwamitra's sister because we're going to see about that today. Then they walked through the river Ganges. They walked along the path of the river Ganges, and Lord Ramachandra had a question about the descent of the Ganga. So at that time, Vishwamitra first told that Mount Meru's daughter, Mena, got married to Himavan, and they had 2 daughters, Ganga and Uma. So he chose to tell about the story of Uma first because he said it really quick. And then he wanted to tell the story of Mother Ganga. So while telling the story of Mother Uma, he said about how Mother Uma performed austerities to marry Lord Shiva, and she eventually got married to Lord Shiva. But then the demigods desired that she should have a son from Lord Shiva. So in the process, when they were uniting at that point in time, the world felt that it is very difficult to hold the vital fluid that would be coming out from Lord Shiva. So what they did is they decided to actually contain that fluid in different parts of the world. So the earth, the fire, the water Ganga, they all took responsibility to hold that vital fluid, and eventually that fluid was dropped in Sharavana, that is a forest full of Shara reeds. And there the child takes birth, and the child was fed by the six Kritika girls, and hence he came to be known as Kartikeya, Shanmukha Kartikeya. And but however, Uma was very upset because she didn't have the opportunity to give birth to the child, and she ends up cursing some of them. Okay. So we saw the birth of Lord Kartikeya. Now he wanted to tell the story of the descent of the Ganges. And we all know the story of the descent of the Ganges. It is to do with King Sagara. So Sagara had 60,000 sons from one of his wives, and they went in search of the sacrificial horse, and eventually they got burned down by the fire emanating from their own bodies because of the offense that they made to Kapila Dev. Then, to deliver these 60,000 forefathers, the future descendants, they tried one by one to bring Ganga down because they knew that only Ganga is the solution. Only if the water of the river Ganga is sprinkled on the ashes, the ancestors would be delivered. So we saw how Amshuman was trying, and then we saw how Dilipa tried. And finally, after Dilipa came King Bhagiratha, and Bhagiratha was successful in his penance, and he brought down Mother Ganga. And Mother Ganga, she wanted a suitable male to hold her force, and Lord Shiva decided to be a patra, meaning a medium through which Ganga would come. And then in the locks of his hairs, he held the Ganga for a while, and then he released her in three different streams. Eventually, the sons of Sagara were delivered. Then they walked on, and they came to the city called as Vishala. And at that time, when Ramachandra asked a question about the place, Vishwamitra gave the story of the churning of the milk ocean. He spoke about how the Daityas and the Adityas, they were actually cousins or stepbrothers in one sense, and they desired to get nectar, and they churned the ocean of milk. And from the ocean of milk arose nectar. Dhanvantari, Bhagavan, with a pot of nectar appeared there, the father of Ayurveda. And not only did Dhanvantari Bhagavan appear, there were the Apsaras and so many others like Ucheshravas, Airavat, and all these different things came out of the churning of the milk ocean. But why did he tell about the churning of the milk ocean? Because there was a fierce battle that ensued between the demons and the demigods, because the demigods got a big share, or they got actually all the nectar except for Rahu and Ketu, who were demons. They all got the nectar. So the demons were very upset. There was a big war. Some of the demons were killed. And the mother of the demons, Mother Diti, was very anguished. So she performed a vratha so that she could have a son who would become the killer of Indra. But however, she was strict. She was tricked into performing a nice Vaishnava ritual, and that in fact purified her, and she gave birth to the Maruts, who were actually followers of Indradev. So they also became demigods. So these are the Maruts, and the place where Diti performed the rituals, Diti performed that vrata is called as Vishala. So that is the place where Rama, Lakshmana, and Vishwamitra were walking. Then they proceeded further, and they entered the beautiful city of Mithila, the birthplace of Mother Sita. Today it is in Nepal, but we all can desire someday we can see that beautiful place. So as they walked into Mithila, the sages were so amazed at the beauty of Mithila, because Mithila was a city of temples. There is a comparison made. Ayodhya was a city of forts, whereas Mithila was a city of temples, because the leader of Mithila, the king of Mithila, was Janaka Maharaj. Who is Janaka Maharaj? He is one of the Mahajans, right? So he was a very great devotee, and the city was embellished with beautiful temples. So it was very pleasing, and the sages were very happy. But then at that time, they saw a beautiful ashram, and Rama had a question: whose ashram is this? And Vishwamitra was delighted. He said, "Oh, what a pleasure. I'm so happy you're asking this question," because he wanted Rama to execute a task. He asked Ram to walk into the ashram. And the minute he set foot into the ashram, the invisible Ahalya took form and appeared in front of Ram. She paid her obeisances to Lord Ramachandra, and immediately Gautama Rishi, who had cursed her, also appeared there. And Gautama again accepted Ahalya as his wife in spite of the big fall down that Ahalya and Indra had. So we saw what happened in the case of Ahalya, what curse was given to Indra, and finally how Ahalya was delivered just because of the Sannidhanam, that is, just because of the presence of Lord Ramachandra. And we made a comparison with different retellings of the Ramayana, how some people say she was a rock, like you see in this picture, how some people say she was dust, some people say she was invisible, some people say it was the foot of Lord Ramachandra, the feet of Lord Ramachandra that delivered Ahalya. Some people say it was the dust from the feet of Lord Ramachandra. Some people say it is the Padukas. Some people say it is the dust of the Padukas. But Valmiki in the original Ramayana, he just says in the presence. She was delivered. Okay. So we saw the story of Ahalya being delivered. So these are the various histories, the 9 histories that they heard. Tataka, Vamana, the lineage of Vishwamitra, Kushanaba, Brahmadatta, that is one set story. Vishwamitra's history itself, Vishwamitra also tells his own history. Ganga, the story of Ganga through Sagara's sons, how they offended Kapila and so on. The story of Kartikeya, churning of milk ocean, 7 Maruts and Ahalya. So these are the 9 stories that they are told. Now they entered the real precincts of the city of Ayodhya, and there Shatananda, who is the son of Gautama and Ahalya, along with Janaka Maharaj, they come to receive Vishwamitra and Rama Lakshmana, who have come to their city. And we saw who Shatananda was. Shatananda was the son of Gautama and Ahalya, and Shatananda was delighted to hear that his mother was delivered. So both of them, the king and the minister, Shatananda was the minister come sage, come advisor of Janak Maharaj. They both came forward to welcome the 2 boys along with Vishwamitra. Can we have a raised hand before we get started today for reciting? Hema Gopika Mataji, would you like to recite?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah. वरायुधधरौ वीरौ तस्य पुत्रौ महामुने भूषयन्ताविमं देशं चन्द्रसूर्या विवाम्बरम् परस्परस्य सदृशौ प्रमाणेङ्गितचेष्टितैः काकपक्षधरौ वीरौ श्रोतुमिच्छामि तत्त्वतः.
Thank you, Mataji. So as Janaka and Shatananda saw the 2 boys along with Vishwamitra, Janaka Maharaj said, "Oh, great saint, whose sons are these 2 youngsters? They are holding weapons. They look so wonderful. One looks like the sun and the other looks like the moon in the sky." Lord Ramachandra looked like the sun and Lakshmana looked like the moon. So they look so similar. Their body language, the way they are standing, the way they are appearing, everything looks so similar. Both of them look almost like they are twins. Actually, they were not twins. Since they were brothers, they had similar appearances. They have beautiful curling locks of hair that is decorating their cheeks like jet black crow wings, kakapaksham. They're looking so beautiful. So, and though they are young boys, they also look very valorous. So, who are these 2 boys? Can you please tell me? Their beauty is attracting me. This was the first impression that Janaka Maharaj, the future father-in-law of Lord Ramachandra, had. And Ramachandra and also Lakshmana. He's the father-in-law of both of them. So this is the first impression that he had. He was so taken aback by their beauty and their presence. He was thinking, they're looking so beautiful. Who are these 2 boys? And at that time, Vishwamitra was very happy to introduce the 2 boys. He said, these are the sons of Dasharath. They actually killed Tataka, they killed Subahu, and they also delivered Shatananda's mother Ahalya. Shatananda was so pleased in his heart that he was thanking Lord Rama and Lakshmana, and also he profusely thanks Vishwamitra. Yeah. And he says, Shatananda says, actually, these two boys, they are great. They have delivered my mother. But these two boys are actually very, very fortunate because they have sage Vishwamitra as their guru. And he begins to glorify Vishwamitra and he chooses to tell the entire life history of Vishwamitra. So, if you see in the earlier part of the Ramayana, Vishwamitra himself introduces himself. He says that, I come from the dynasty of Kusha, and he tells, when he tells Brahmadatta's story, and when he also tells Kaushiki's story, he tells, this is my dynasty. But he doesn't tell his life story. So his life story is now being narrated by Shatananda. Why is Vishwamitra so important in the Balakanda? Because so many chapters are dedicated just to describe the life story of Vishwamitra. Any guesses why he is so important? Like 6 to 8 chapters just for the story of Vishwamitra. Anyone wants to take a guess?
Many reasons, maybe because, first of all, he was the one who taught everything to Rama and Lakshmana. Then
Yeah,
he became the instrument for their marriage.
very good.
So,
Yeah, one more. Anything else? Instrument for his marriage is actually very nice.
He trained them in warfare and he gave them those siddhis which they would need to, in performing their leela in the future.
Definitely, yes. Definitely, yes, Mataji. Yes. Yeah, very nice answers. Thank you so much. And both the answers are correct. I would also like to add one more reason. He is also one of the key personalities who showed Sharanagati in his life. As I mentioned earlier, this Ramayana itself is called a Sharanagati Shastra. So he gave shelter to two Sharanagatas and he showed the importance of Sharanagati, how you should give protection to one who's sheltered. So, yes, he was instrumental in bringing Rama and Sita together. If not for Vishwamitra taking Ram to the forest, forget, Ramachandra killing demons. Vishwamitra's main aim was Rama and Sita should be actually united more than his sacrifice being protected and killing of demons. That is all secondary. But the main Leela that everybody was interested, including Vishwamitra, was that Ramchandra should meet Sita. Okay. And of course, Vishwamitra was a very important guru in Lord Ramachandra's life, wherein Lord Ramachandra learned the art of weaponry and he got all the divine weapons by the mercy of Vishwamitra. And eventually that was helpful in the battlefield when he had to conquer Ravana and his entire army. Very well said. And one more reason is that he was an example of how one should give shelter to the surrendered, because we will see different Sharanagatis as we proceed through the Ramayana. We will just touch upon them. We won't do a Sharanagati class, of course. We'll just touch upon, like I told you about the first Sharanagati, how the Devatas, they did Sharanagati to Vishnu and the Lord appeared as Lord Ramachandra. Similarly, this is the next Sharanagati. Next two Sharanagatis are dedicated to Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra becomes very important because he showed how, whatever the situation may be, if somebody comes and falls at your feet and asks for protection, they should not be rejected. So that's a very important lesson. Not only that, Vishwamitra also teaches some real life lessons to all practicing devotees. How important it is for us to control anger and lust. These two are the biggest impediments in our progress in Krishna consciousness, and how these two are terrible weapons and they are attacking us all the time. From the life of Vishwamitra, we see so many difficulties that he endeavored, and at the end, he becomes even the guru of Lord Ramachandra, in spite of having such a tough life. Okay, so we have so much to learn from this personality. So let's get started with the story of Vishwamitra as narrated by Shatananda. So Vishwamitra, Shatananda, he begins to speak about Vishwamitra. He said, Vishwamitra was actually a great king. He was a great Kshatriya Raja, and he was ruling for many thousands of years. One day, along with his army, his several akshauhinis of army, with his soldiers, he went into the forest hunting. And at that time, he happened to stumble upon the ashram of sage Vasishta. Vasishta was a great sage. He was a Brahmana. He was a great sage. Vishwamitra was a Kshatriya. He was a king. So when Vishwamitra went to the sage's ashram and the sage saw the king had come to his ashram along with so many soldiers, Vasishta invited Vishwamitra and he wanted to give them a good lunch. Okay, so he wanted to show good hospitality to the king. So he invited the king and he said, please wait, I will ensure that you are all well fed. You all seem to be hungry and tired from all your travels. We are very, very fortunate that you have come to our ashram. So Vishwamitra was thinking, it is not appropriate for me to take services from a Brahmana. But then Vasishta said, don't think like that. I'm here to serve you. You are the king. So please take whatever we are able to supply you. So Vishwamitra, in all his humility, initially, in all his humility, he accepts the services. Generally, a Kshatriya will not accept service from a Brahmana. But then since Vasishta forced him, or rather said, no, you have to eat something. You all look very, very tired. I really want to serve you. Hearing that, Vishwamitra agrees. Okay. Now, Vishwamitra, when he was ready to honor Prasadam, at that time he saw that Vasishta was able to create a huge buffet of items. It had multiple items having the 4 different types of food. Food that is chewed, that is sucked, that is licked, and that is chewed. 4 different types of food. Foods with different tastes: sweet, sour, bitter, what else? Salty, sugary, and
Pungent.
pungent. Yeah, pungent. So 6 types of tastes. And it was a huge buffet, nothing like what you see in this world. Maybe 20 items, 25 items in a wedding, much more than that. He was able to create 100 different items. He was able to create South Indian cuisine, North Indian cuisine, Eastern, Western, Italian, Mexican. Think about any cuisine. Everything was done, and it was not only was the foodstuffs prepared, it was also prepared in beautiful vessels. Even vessels were coming out. They were in beautiful containers, and even it was set up in a beautiful fashion. Everything was ready for the thousands of soldiers who had come from with Vishwamitra. So seeing the opulence and seeing the kind of hospitality that was given to Vishwamitra, Vishwamitra was shocked. He was mind blown. He was like opening his mouth and looking at everything. And how did everything come out? Because Vasishta had a magical cow. The name of the cow is Kamadenu. Yes, Kamadenu means it's a generic name. Kamadenu. A dhenu, or a cow that can give you whatever you desire, is called as Kamadenu. But this cow had a name. She's Kamadenu. There are so many Kamadhenus in Goloka, you hear, right? So many wish fulfilling cows. The specific cow that Vasishta had was called as Shabala. That's her name, Shabala. So this Shabala, Sabala, she had the powers to generate whatever Vishwamitra wanted. Not only could she generate milk, from which you can get butter, ghee, and milk products and yogurt and all that, but she could generate non-milk products also. She could generate paneer butter masala and whatever, bisi bele bath, yogurt, rice, everything. If you ask, she will give that. Okay. So that was the capability, and a huge menu was served, and all the soldiers, she could create different kinds of foodstuffs. And not only that, she could also create it in large quantities. So Vishwamitra had to just give the order and she would generate. she would generate the entire order in large quantities. He would say, can you make something for 1,000 people? And it would issue out in beautiful vessels. So this was the power. And seeing this, Vishwamitra was shocked. He didn't understand anything. He was like, how is this possible? How is this king? I mean, how is this sage who was so poor, who's living in the middle of the forest? And what do Brahmanas have? They have nothing. They just have one pair of clothes. That's it. And they just keep doing yajnas all the time in the forest. How is he able to arrange for such a big feast? I am a king. Even I cannot arrange for such a grand feast. He was thinking like that. So then he finds out that actually it is Sabala who is giving this entire feast. So once he found out the secret, he went to the backyard and he saw Shabala was there and she was generating all the different foodstuffs. He thought, oh, this Vasishta has such a precious thing in his backyard. I am the king and I should be having this. What is the use of a sage in the forest having this magical cow? How much can he do with this? But I am the king. If the cow is with me, I can take care of the entire kingdom with this cow. So he tells Vasishta, Vasishta, I see that you have Shabala with you and she is able to create all this. So isn't it fair that she actually comes with me because I am the king? As a sage, you only need some ghee, right? I will give you 100,000 cows. I will give you 100,000 ordinary cows and you can generate all the milk and ghee you want and be happy in the forest while I take Shabala and I will take care of my kingdom. Okay, Vasishta refused. He said, no, it's not possible. She is the property of a Brahmana. She will stay with a Brahmana and that is her desire as well. So then Vishwamitra thought, okay, I will give you gold. I will give you silver. I will give you horses. I will give you elephants, 10 million cows. I will give you whatever you want. I will give you so many riches that you cannot even imagine. But please part with Kamadeni. Please part with Shabalam. But Vasishta refused. So they started verbally fighting. Who? Vasishta and Vishwamitra started fighting with each other. And Vasishta was telling she belongs to the Brahmana, we need her more than you, while the king was telling, no, the king needs the cow more than you. So this went on, and the verbal fight resulted in physical assault. So Vishwamitra, being the Kshatriya, he had the anger and he began to attack the ashram. He started shooting arrows. He had a big crew of soldiers, right? That huge akshahani of armies, they all came forward and they started shooting arrows at the ashram. And they told Vishwamitra, you better give up Shabala, we need her. Then Vashishta said, this is getting too much. And he did not even revolt. He just stood there and he thought, if Shabala wants, she can go. So Vishwamitra, he goes to the cow and he pulls her by force. Okay, he pulls her by force. He drags her all the way out of the ashram, trying to take her away. But this Kamadhenu, she was resisting. She had no interest to go to the kingdom and serve the king and the subjects. All that she wanted to do was serve the Brahmanas in the forest. So she did not want to go. At that time, she goes and she moves in front of Vasishta and she begs Vasishta to protect her. At that time, Vasishta looked at her and said, what can I do? I'm a poor Brahmana. I don't have weapons. I can't do anything. But you are Kamadhenu. You can do whatever you want. If you can generate paneer butter masala and gulab jamun, why can't you generate forces and soldiers to counteract this entire akshahini of armies that is there in front of you? So taking that instruction with her moves, just by moving, she generated Yavanas, Khasas, Palvas, Kambojas, Barbaras, and so many other different lands. Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha. You have heard this verse, right, in Bhagavatam. So she creates these different races. Basically, if someone asks, where did all these different races, Mlecha races come from? They all came from the moves of Sabala. Okay. So beside the Aryans or the civilized class who live in the main part of India, where how the different races came into existence, they all came from her. And that's why they are great warriors. So these warriors, these different warriors, they appeared from her moves. She was issuing forth all these different warriors, and they finished the entire army of Vishwamitra. All the people in Vishwamitra's army were all by the armies of Yavanas, Khasas, Palvas, Kambojas, Barbaras, and so on. So now Vishwamitra was shocked. He thought, I thought I can only get some yogurt rice and paneer butter masala, but it looks like even armies can be generated from this Kamadhenu. Then I really need this Kamadhenu. So you think, I'm the king. I need so many Kshatriyas. I need so many soldiers. I really need this cow. So he goes and he starts meditating unto Lord Shiva. That is, thinking of Lord Shiva. He goes into meditation and he performs austerities to please Lord Shiva so that he can get some divine weapons. Now, how did Vishwamitra give so many divine weapons to Lord Ramachandra? Because he must have acquired it at some point in time, right? How did Vishwamitra acquire all these divine weapons that we saw in the previous class? We saw a huge list of astras and shastras that Vishwamitra had and how he bestowed it onto the boys. So, how did he get it? He got it because he went and performed many austerities to please Lord Shiva, and finally Lord Shiva appeared in front of him, and Vishwamitra requested from Lord Shiva that all the weapons used by the Kshatriyas, the Astras and the Shastras, should dawn upon me, and Lord Shiva gave him that boon. So he got everything, including the Brahmastra, everything he got from Lord Shiva, and empowered and equipped with all these different weapons, he came back to Vasishta's ashram and he started fighting with Vasishta. He started shooting arrows, and again he tried to destroy Vasishta's place. Looking at the power with which Vishwamitra came, Vasishta, being a Brahmana who had nothing, he didn't have weapons or he didn't have astra shastras, nothing, but he had one thing. He had his Brahmadanda. So you all have seen what Brahmadanda is. It's like the stick of it's got this, I don't know, you all must have seen in movies or in serials or whatever, this kind of a stick with a U on top. So he held his Brahmadanda and he did, and just with that, all the weapons that Vishwamitra was issuing became nullified with the hunkara by hitting down or just nudging his Brahmadanda. And Vishwamitra was completely shocked. With this hunkara, all the weapons got smashed. And he was thinking, this Vasishta, he is a Brahmana, he is a Brahma Rishi. He is a Rishi who is a Brahma Rishi. And because he is a Brahma Rishi, he has so many powers. He doesn't have to, pick another weapon and counteract my weapons. Rather, with his Hunkara, he's able to completely nullify all my weapons. Now his desire was not that I want Kamadhenu. Now his desire was, I want to become a Brahma Rishi. I don't want to be an ordinary Raja Rishi. I want to become a Brahma Rishi. So that desire was implanted in his heart, and Vishwamitra went down south of India. He decided to go and perform austerities so that eventually he could become a Brahma Rishi. He thought, this area, Vastu is not good. Let me go down south and let's check out the Vastu there. Was the Vastu good? No, unfortunately, but he tried. So he went down south and he started performing austerities. So he went on performing austerities for many, many years. Meanwhile, in the Ayodhya region, the king who was ruling there was Trishanku. Now, Trishanku was the king, and he had already acquired many sins because of disrespecting his spiritual master, Vasishta. Vasishta was the Kula Guru of the people in Ayodhya, and the king at this point in time was Trishanku Maharaj. Trishanku, though he had incurred some sins, he wanted to actually go to the heavenly planet in a self-same body. He desired to go to Indra's heaven, but the condition that he wanted to go to Indra's planet was that he wanted to go in his own body. Generally, human beings, we cannot go in our own body. We have to shed down this gross body and then we can go to higher planets or we can get liberated, whatever the case may be. But Trishanku, he desired to ascend heaven in a self-same body and he requests Vasishta to help him. Vasishta says it is not possible. See, Shastras allow you to do certain things and you should abide by the rules and regulations. You cannot create your own base. It is not possible for you to enter Indra's heaven in your self-same body, so you will not go. Trishanku was not satisfied with Vasishta's answers. So Trishanku, he goes to Vasishta's 100 sons. Vasishta had many sons. So, and all these sons were great rishis. They were all great sages, great brahmanas. So Trishanku goes to all the sons of Vasishta and requests them. And the sons of Vasishta also refuse. They say, no, it is not possible. Nobody goes to heaven in the self-same body. What kind of desire is this? So they chastise him and they curse Trishanku to become a Chandala, because only a Chandala can think like this, which is not allowed in Shastras. Hence, you will become a Chandala. Okay, so he becomes a, what's a Chandala? Dog eater, meaning he immediately, Valmiki Ramayana says, immediately his dress changed, it became blackish, his skin tone changed, his face became wrinkled, his hair and all was very shabby, and he looked very, very scary. His body drooped down, and he became like an outcast, like a Chandala. So that curse was given, and instantaneously he became completely looking also like a Chandala. Not only in his activities, in his figure also, or in his appearance also, he became like a Chandala. So now Trishanku was very, very upset, and he thought, if Vasishta cannot give me something, then who can give me? He thought Vasishta's vowed enemy, Vishwamitra, can help me. So he goes down south in search of Vishwamitra, and there he finds Vishwamitra performing austerities, and he goes and surrenders to Vishwamitra. This is Sharanagati number 2. Any volunteer for reciting? Yes, Hema Gopika Mataji.
नान्यां गतिं गमिष्यामि नान्यः शरणमस्ति मे दैवं पुरुषकारेण निवर्तयितुमर्हसि.
Yeah, Nanyam Gatyam Gamishyami, Nanyam Sharanamasti Me. I don't have anywhere else to go. And I am surrendering unto you. Please accept me. He says, Sharanamasti Me. I am directly just falling at your feet and surrendering. Daiva Purushakarena. I want to go to the heavenly planet in the same akara, in the same body. In Purushakara, I want to go to the heavenly planet. So please send me to heaven in the self-same body. And when Vishwamitra saw that somebody has come and said, I surrender unto you, Vishwamitra thought, this is serious business. He can't just say, get lost. He can't do that. So he understands this is a very, very important thing. Somebody is telling, I have no other shelter. Please give me shelter. How can I not help him? So he calls for all the sages in the universe. He sends out a big letter saying, all the sages, please come, let's all perform a sacrifice for Trishanku and send him to Swarga in the self-same body. So all the sages, they were scared of Vishwamitra's curses and they all came. They all came from different directions. But only one set of sages didn't come, and that was that was Vasishta's sons. Vasishta's sons refused to come because they already knew Trishanku approached them earlier and they refused, and they were the ones who cursed him to be a Chandala. At this point in time, Trishanku wanted to go in the body of a Chandala. Okay. He didn't want to go to heaven. See, initially he had a desire to go in the king's body to heaven. Vasishta's sons cursed him to become a Chandala. Now, when he went and did Sharanagati to Vishwamitra, he was telling, I want to go in this Chandala body only. So he had so much attachment to the body, and that is also a lesson for all of us. We're all very attached to our body, however our body may be. I may be very fat, I may be unhealthy, but still I have so much bodily attachment. So similarly, even in the Chandala body, our Trishanku was extremely attached, and he wanted to go only in the Chandala body now. And now Vishwamitra, he called over for all the sages, and all the sages came except the sons of Vasishta. Now Vishwamitra was so upset with the sons of Vasishta that he cursed the sons of Vasishta to also become Chandalas. Okay. Then eventually all the sages came from all parts of the universe and they started performing big sacrifices so that this Trishanku can ascend Swarga in his self-same body. But nothing happened. Trishanku did not go to heaven in his self-same body. Then Vishwamitra was seeing that nothing is really helping him to ascend in a self-same body. So he chanted mantras and he offered the merits of all the austerities that he was doing for many, many years, desiring to become a Brahma Rishi. Imagine the amount of austerities he must have done. He just offered everything so that Trishanku could ascend to heaven. Taking the merit of all the austerities that Vishwamitra did, slowly Trishanku really started ascending towards heaven. He almost reached heaven with the power of the austerities of Vishwamitra. So you see here this picture, Vishwamitra sending him to heaven with all his austerities, and Trishanku was raising. But then when he was able to just enter heaven at that time, Indra punched him and sent him down. So now Trishanku falls upside down, like you see here. He falls upside down, and Trishanku was screaming from middle air. He was shouting, "Oh, Vishwamitra, help me, save me. I've been kicked out of heaven." So at that time, Vishwamitra, he stops him right there with his powers and he says, "Trishanku, stay there. You will stay there." And Trishanku was hanging upside down. So that was his condition. And Vishwamitra was so angry that he said, "Trishanku, from there also you're doing Sharanagati. I will take care of you. I will create a full duplicate heaven for you." So he started cloning heaven. Not only did he create a duplicate heaven, he also started cloning the demigods, including Indra. He almost went to clone Indra, but Indra stopped him. So he was cloning many demigods. He was cloning the Parijata trees. He was cloning Nandan gardens. Everything looked like heaven. And then when he was about to clone Indra, he thought, why clone Indra? In fact, Trishanku can be Indra, that kind. When he was thinking like that, Indra and all the demigods, they requested Vishwamitra to stop. They said, "This is really enough. You should stop here." But then Vishwamitra said, "No, I gave him a promise. I have to fulfill this promise." Then he says, "Okay." The demigods say, "Okay, you have done so much. Let it be so much. Don't complete the task. To an extent, you have created heaven to an extent, right? Let this just stay. Please don't clone me and don't continue to expand this heaven. Just stop right there." So this creation is called as Vishwamitra Srishti. It is also called as Trishanku Swarga. So generally, that's why when somebody is cloning something, we say it's Vishwamitra Srishti. When you try to create duplicates, it's a saying in India, they say, "Oh, this is Vishwamitra Srishti." And that is what he did. So he created another heavenly planet that was southward. So why do we say upside down? Because it is southward. If heaven is here, it is southward. And in the Valmiki Ramayana, very clearly it is mentioned, it was created southward to the Saptarishi Mandala. Okay. If the Saptarishi Mandala is there, just opposing that in the southern direction, in the southern hemisphere, he creates this duplicate Swarga, and it is the opposite end of the Ursa Major constellation. To this day, if you see the great big bear Ursa Major, right? That is the constellation of the Saptarishi Mandala, where Dhruva pole star is there. So directly opposite in the southern hemisphere, you have something called as the Holy Southern Cross. It's called as the Southern Cross. It's also called as the Crux constellation, which has the southern pole star. That is Trishanku Swarga. Okay. So that was created, and it's a set of few stars or a set of bunch of stars sitting there. It's like a planetary system, and that was awarded to Trishanku. Okay. So now Trishanku gets his own Swarga and he's happily staying there. And what did Vishwamitra do? He gave him protection because he came and fell at his feet. But what happened to Vishwamitra? Vishwamitra had accrued so much merit, so much. It was a lot of merit, so much so that he could send one person to heaven, create a duplicate heaven. That's a lot. He could have easily become Brahma Rishi very soon. But then all his cookies and points, it all dropped down to zero. All the merits that he had acquired so much, it could have been probably some like 100,000 points. It all crashed down to zero because he used all his merits to send Trishanku upward. So this is, very similar to Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj, when in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see how Kali personified was actually misbehaving and chopping off. I mean, like he was ill-treating a bull, if you remember, a male cow. And later, the same Kali personified, when he was chastised by Parikshit Maharaj, he goes and falls at the feet of Parikshit Maharaj and asks for shelter. He does Sharanagati actually. And immediately Parikshit protects him. This is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Immediately he protects him and he gives him places to stay. He doesn't reject him. He knows Kali personified is not a good person. He's ill-treating the cow and the bull. He's meddling with dharma. He knows that very well. But still, Parikshit Maharaj very intelligently gave him shelter in few places. Like that's why we say regulative principles. We don't gamble. We don't indulge in meat eating, illicit relationships, and drinking. The reason is because in all these different places, Kali personified stays. And then he also gave another place, like where there is too much gold, that means where there is greed. So in such different places, this Kali personified resides. So somehow Parikshit Maharaj also gave shelter and did not reject that personality. Similarly, here we see Vishwamitra also, he gives shelter. He gives whatever this Trishanku desired because Trishanku came and surrendered. So the Sharanagati too was made success by Vishwamitra, even at the risk of losing his own ascetic powers. He had accumulated so many powers. Why was he accumulating powers? To become a Brahma Rishi, but he was not even attached to that because he thought Sharanagati Dharma is more important. It is much more important than all the sacrifices that I have done. So then, South was a failure, right? So Vastu was not good. So he thought, I tried North, I tried South, let me go West. So Vishwamitra, now he goes to the western side, he goes to Pushkar. He goes to Pushkar and he continues to do tapas. He does tapas for many thousands of years, not thousands of years, for many years. And then there was a king by the name Ambarish, according to Valmiki Ramayana. And this king is identified with Harishchandra according to all the other Puranas, including Bhagavatam and the Rig Veda as well. Why is he called as Ambarish here? Two, three opinions are given. One opinion is that since he comes in the dynasty of Ambarish Maharaj, all these kings, Trishanku, Harishchandra, they all come in the dynasty of Ambarish Maharaj. So all of them were called by one of the great kings in their dynasty. They were called after that name. That is one explanation. Why is there a difference between what is mentioned in the Puranas and the Rig Veda versus what is mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana? This is one answer that is given, and I'm repeating that answer. For now, let's call him Ambarish itself. Okay. So this king Ambarish, he wanted to perform a sacrifice. But then in his sacrifice, the animal was stolen. The animal that he wanted to sacrifice, that animal got stolen. Now, who would have stolen that animal? What is the obvious guess everyone has? Any guesses?
Indra.
Indra, yes. He's always the accused, right? So Indra, he stole the horse. And because the animal was stolen and they could not bring back the animal, the way you repent for that to complete, I mean, you have to complete the sacrifice. There is no way around not completing it. But to complete the sacrifice, you have to sacrifice something else, right? The only thing mentioned is that you can do a human sacrifice if the exact animal is not retrieved. So now they wanted a human being to be sacrificed. So now this king, he went around asking for a human being who's going to go for a sacrifice. Nobody will be wanting to sacrifice. But then he went to the ashram of Richika Muni. Now, who is this Richika Muni? This Richika Muni was actually the brother-in-law of Vishwamitra. Remember, I told you Vishwamitra had a sister, Kaushiki. Her name is Satyavati. This Satyavati's husband is Richika Muni. So he goes to the ashram of Richika Muni and he asks Richika Muni for help. He tells Richika Muni, you have 3 sons. Can you give one of your sons in sacrifice? Now, Richika Muni, he says, the older son is very important to me because the older son should remain alive to do my Pitrakarya, that is to do Pindadan and other things. When I die, somebody should offer all that. So I need my older son. The wife said, the younger son is very dear to me because always the last child is always very dear to the parent. So the father said, my wife is very attached to the younger one. So we can't give the younger one. So the remaining is the middle one, and the middle one's name was Shunashepa. So he says you can take Shunashepa as the animals, as the person for animal sacrifice. Now, who is the uncle of Shunashepa? Uncle of Shunashepa is Vishwamitra, right? Because Vishwamitra's sister is Satyavati or Kaushiki, whose son is Shunashepa. So what happens is when Ambarish's men are taking the person for animal sacrifice, who's Shunashepa, when they are taking him to the sacrificial arena, they pass through Pushkar. And who's doing penances in Pushkar? It is Vishwamitra. So this Shunashepa, he tells the men that please wait for a minute. My uncle is close by. I'll just pay a visit and bid goodbye to him and I'll come back. So he goes to Vishwamitra and he falls at the lap of Vishwamitra. He goes and he falls at the lap because he has got the right. He's a nephew, right? Small boy, he's a nephew. So he goes and falls on the lap of Vishwamitra, equivalent to surrender. And he says, Namesti mata na pita. I don't have mother. I don't have father. Nyatayo bhandava kutaha. I don't have any relative who's going to take care of me. Tratu marhasi mam saumya dharmena munipungavaha. You are the only one who can protect me because you know what dharma is. So he goes, my mother has rejected me, my father has rejected me, my cousins, my relatives, nobody is ready to protect me. But oh sage, oh mama, oh uncle, you are the only one who is apt in protecting me. You are filled with saintliness. So please protect me. He goes and falls on the lap and he asks Vishwamitra for protection. So Vishwamitra's policy, when somebody comes and surrenders, he has to give protection. So immediately, he says, oh, they have abandoned you like this. I will take care of you. So he thinks how to give protection to this boy. The first idea that comes to Vishwamitra is that he had 100 sons. Remember, first he was a king before he took to all this tapa and all that. He was a very great king and he had multiple children. He had 100 children. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, the 50th was called as Madhuchanda, and hence the 50 younger ones were called as the Madhuchandas. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it's written like that. Here in Valmiki Ramayana, they are called as Madhuspandas, but all the 100 are called as Madhuspandas, according to Valmiki Ramayana. So he goes to his sons, this Vishwamitra, he asks his 100 sons, can one of you give up your life instead of this Shunashepa? Because Shunashepa came and did Sharanagati to me. Okay. And the 100 sons started laughing and they said, what kind of requirement is this? What kind of plea is this? It is not possible. Only a Chandala will be ready to give up his children in sacrifice. And they were mocking their father, telling, are you a Chandala? You just want to give up your sons for the sake of somebody else? They ask like that, and immediately Vishwamitra's automatic curse to everybody is, you will become a Chandala. So he curses everybody. Anybody who comes, you become a Chandala. So he cursed all the 100 sons to become Chandala according to Valmiki Ramayana. But whereas according to Srimad Bhagavatam, the younger 50 sons, they don't go and sacrifice, but they accept this mother, this Sonashepa as their brother. Hence, they are saved. That is how the Bhagavatam describes it. Here, all the 100 do not go for human sacrifice, so they are all cursed to become Chandalas. Now, again, they also become different races like Mlecha, Jadi, and these Kashas, Hunas, Pulinda, Andhra, all these different races, they also become. Who all have become so far? First of all, a sect was issued from Kamadhenu, right? She issued some. And then Vasishta's sons were cursed. Now his own sons, Vishwamitra's own sons, have become Chandalas. Okay, so all of them were Chandalas, and they all lost their capability of being Kshatriyas, and they were rejected. Now Vishwamitra was thinking, what should I do? I have to somehow give protection to the Shunashepa. The Shunashepa should not be sacrificed in that altar. So I have to do something about it. So he was thinking and using all the merit that he had gathered in this period while staying in Pushkar. Whatever he gathered in South India, he lost it. Now, whatever he had gathered in Pushkar, with that merit itself, he meditated and he came up with two mantras. One glorifying Indra, another glorifying Upendra. Why Indra and Upendra? The sacrificial pole on which the man animal is tied, is a representation of Vishnu. Everything should be given in sacrifice to Vishnu. We all know that. So that pole itself is a representation of Upendra. Who's Upendra? Vamana, who's non-different from Vishnu. And the sacrifice per se, the animal sacrifice, is given in honor of Indra. It's not given in honor of Vishnu. Though Vishnu is the enjoyer of any sacrifice, Vishnu doesn't take animal sacrifice, right? But the pole is a representation of Vishnu, while the animal who is sacrificed is given to Indra. This is the tradition in that sacrifice, in that Ashwamedha, whatever sacrifice they are doing. So that is the tradition. So he came up with the merit of his austerity. He meditated on the form of Vishnu and he came up with the two mantras, the Indra mantra and the Upendra mantra. And he gave these two mantras to his nephew Shunashepa, and he told Shunashepa, when you are taken to the pole and when you are tied to the pole, at that time chant these two mantras, and everything will be, everything will break open. All this, whatever they have tied you with, all of that will shatter, and immediately Indra will appear in front of you and he will bestow his blessings. As told, Shunashepa was taken to the pole. He was tied, like you've seen this picture. He's very scared, but he is being tied. And when they are ready to sacrifice him, chop off his head, at that time, he chants these two mantras that were given by his uncle, and immediately, by the power of that mantra, everything was released, and Indra himself appears on the scene. Indra is completely pleased with Ambarish Maharaj, and Indra actually bestows longevity on this Shunashepa, blesses him and sends him and makes Ambarish's sacrifice complete. The same Indra was the one who stole the horse. Now Indra comes and he admits his fault and he helps Ambarish Maharaj to complete the sacrifice. So all this was possible because of the mantras that were given by Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra protected Shunashepa. So Shunashepa Sharanagati was a grand success. Everybody was satisfied. However, Vishwamitra, again, his balance became zero. Everything went down. So he had to start all over again. Why did his balance become zero? Because he thought giving protection to a Sharanagata is so important. So it's okay, let all my merit go. I will start from square one. So again, he does 1,000 years of tapas. Now Indra is very worried because Indra started thinking, if anybody is doing so much tapas, obviously he's trying to compete to become the next Indra. So I should stop this. And the usual stunt that Indra has is, he sent some apsara to disturb the tapas of a great sage. So after 1,000 years of tapas, he sent down Menaka. Menaka was one of the apsaras who was extremely beautiful, and he told Menaka to go and disturb Vishwamitra and live with Vishwamitra for a few years in a way that he will stop doing austerities. So Menaka appeared on the scene where Vishwamitra was doing austerities, and she's compared to an electric flash in a black cloud. She was looking so beautiful, and in the river opposite the place where Vishwamitra was performing austerities, she was singing songs and she was swimming very, very pleasantly. And looking at the beauty, somehow this Vishwamitra, he got disturbed with the splashing of water and her swimming, and he opened his eyes and he was completely captivated by her beauty. And he goes to Menaka and he requests Menaka to marry him. And 10 years roll by comfortably, very comfortably. They are together. He's very, very happy in her company. And you all know they also end up having a daughter, Shakuntala, right? So time passes by, and after 10 years, Vishwamitra realizes what he did. He lost all his merit. The thousands of years of tapas that he was doing, he lost everything. So now he thought, okay, let me try going back north again. So he goes all the way north again to the river Kaushiki, where his sister flows, and he thinks this is the best place because this place has always given me protection. He goes there, and again he continues to do 1,000 years of tapas after abandoning the daughter. She's actually protected by birds, it says, right? Shaku, that's why she's called Shakuntala. But later, of course, he also helps her get married to Dushyant and all that. Later, he takes care of her. But Menaka abandons and goes away. So anyway, he goes and he performs 1,000 years of tapas near river Kaushiki. And he is very successful after 1,000 years, and Brahma appears in front of him after thousands of years. Now Brahma comes and he says, I'm very, very happy. You have been performing many austerities. I award you the title of Maharishi. Now, why was Vishwamitra doing all this penance? So that he could become Brahma Rishi. From Raja Rishi, he wanted to become Brahma Rishi. But then the title given to Vishwamitra after all this effort was Maharishi. So Vishwamitra was very disappointed. He said, oh, I was performing austerities to become Brahma Rishi. Why am I just given Maharishi? Am I not good enough? And Brahma said, Brahma Rishi title can be given only to a person who has really conquered all his senses. A person who is Jitendriya, only he can get the title of Brahma Rishi. He said, your senses are not fully conquered. So continue to make efforts to conquer your senses. There is a nice description of conquering senses. I'll later send a picture of the different stages of conquering senses. I don't want to get into the details here. Like there are step-by-step progress one has to make. So first, when you see an attractive object, you want to enjoy it, but you tell yourself that, oh, I have to conquer my senses, and you look away. You try avoiding looking at it because you know if you look at it, you will enjoy it. That is level one. So like that, there are different levels. Slowly, you stop desiring to even when you look at that object, you have zero emotions, you know. So like that, slowly you have to conquer your senses. There is a four-stage conquering senses process. I will send that picture from the purports. You can read that for yourself and understand how to conquer senses. So basically, the idea is that Brahma says that you have not yet conquered your senses. You have a long way to go. So you continue your austerities. So now Vishwamitra, he took another round of austerities, and at this time, he followed very similar to the process that we had seen earlier. How Sagara Maharish, King Sagara, he was not Sagara, sorry, King Bhagiratha. He was standing on the toes of his feet with upraised arms. Then he was doing austerities around Panchagni fire on 4 different directions with the sun on top. And then he was doing austerities and cold. We saw all that, right? Same process, even Vishwamitra was doing. So he did austerities by raising his arms and standing on the toes. Then he did austerities in summer around Panchagni. Then he did austerities in winter in water. He was submerged in ice cold water and he was doing austerities. So like this for another 1,000 years, he took up multiple austerities. Again, Indra got scared. Indra thought, oh, again, he's going to take my position. And this time, instead of sending of course, with Menaka, one accident happened. So now he sends another beautiful woman who is Rambha. So now Rambha comes and she enters with a nice musical effect. So she comes and she creates a beautiful atmosphere. Menaka was swimming in the water. Now Ramba, she uses a different strategy. She brings some nice birds and she makes those birds sing very beautifully so that the ambience is very gentle and very pleasing. And then she starts to appear in front of Vishwamitra to disturb him. And then she starts giggling in front of him, laughing in front of him, making postures and so on. And Vishwamitra, at this time, he understands that this is the mischief of Indra. And with great anger, he curses Ramba. He screams at Ramba and he curses her, saying that you will become a rock. You will just stand there. You will become a rock. What are you trying to do to me? So now, after he cursed her, he feels very bad. What did I just do? I gave in to anger. So when Menaka came, Vishwamitra gave in to lust. When Ramba came, Vishwamitra couldn't keep his senses in control. He ended up screaming and cursing her, and he gave in to anger. Both of these are symptoms of passion, anger and lust. We have not conquered our senses, right? Same thing, Vishwamitra, he was repenting. He was thinking, what did I just do? I just cursed this woman in anger. My senses are not conquered. So again, but he told one thing to Ramba. He tells, you stand like this as a rock for thousands of years, and eventually you will be delivered by a great Brahma Rishi who has conquered his senses. And who is the Brahma Rishi that Vishwamitra was thinking? By now, he was thinking, actually, this Vasishta is a real Brahma Rishi. This Rambha will be delivered by Vasishta. He was thinking like that, and he said Rambha. Though he was trying to compete with Vasishta, he held Vasishta in high regard. So he told that you will be delivered eventually by Vasishta and one son, by a great Brahma Rishi. You will be delivered. And he goes away and he continues to perform another 1,000 years of penance. So now this time what he does is he didn't cover the eastern direction, right? He tried north, he tried west, he tried south, none of it worked. So he took recourse of the eastern direction. So he went to the east of India and there he took up Mauna Vrata because he didn't want to talk to anybody. He thought, if I curse only if I open my mouth, I'm going to curse, right? So he shut his mouth. He decided to do Mauna Vrata and he also stopped exhaling. This is called as Kumbhaka Yoga. This Prabhupada is also written in some purports, how you slowly reduce your speed of breathing and you increase your lifespan. So that way, he thought his anger and his lust, especially anger, he was worried about anger at this point in time. He thought anger can be controlled. So he took up the Mauna Vrata and he stopped exhaling and he practiced Kumbhaka Yoga. And this went on for another thousands of years. So after thousands of years, he finished his austerity and meditation and he thought, okay, now I will eat a little after 1,000 years. So he wanted to eat his meal. This meal that he wanted to eat is generally cooked by himself. So when a great rishi, generally sannyasis, they don't cook their own meals, right? But here, he's not technically sannyasi, but he was performing an austerity. So obviously he should not be having multiple meals, regular meals also. But then if he has performed an austerity towards a particular goal after thousands of years, the first meal you have should be cooked by oneself. And it is called as Vishwadevam. That is the name of the meal. So he cooks that and he's about to eat. And at that time, our Indra hasn't left him. Okay, as much as Vishwamitra has not left the idea of becoming a Brahma Rishi, Indra has not left the idea of stopping him from becoming a Brahma Rishi. So, of course, Indra didn't want him to become another Indra. That was Indra's intention, but still he was giving obstruction in various ways. So now Indra, he comes and he asks for that meal. He comes in the guise of a Brahmana and he says, I'm very hungry, give me that. Now, what will Vishwamitra do? Is he going to curse Indra? No, because now Vishwamitra learnt his lesson, right? Vishwamitra thought, hey, I have to conquer anger. I am going to take Mauna Vrata and I'm going to do Kumbhaka Yoga. That way, I will not curse anybody. He didn't get angry also. By now, his senses were slowly getting tamed. So he was not getting angry. Without speaking, he gave away the meal and he went again to perform another 1,000 years of austerities. And Indra was amazed. Indra didn't expect this reaction. So now Vishwamitra, he went on without respiration for another thousands of years. So he had arrested the air within himself, and then fumes started emanating from the head of the sage who was controlling his breath like this. So this went on for thousands of years, and because of the heat emanating from his body, the three worlds were tormented. And then finally, the demigods told Brahma, we don't know what to do with this man. And then Indra understood that he is after Brahma Rishi title. And then Brahma said, okay, demigods, don't worry. I will go and I will award this title to Vishwamitra. So finally, Brahma appeared in front of him along with all the demigods. Indra was there, Agni was there, everybody was there. And they said this beautiful verse. Anybody for this verse? Yes, is Kirtida.
Sorry for not changing the name.
No problem. I know it's you. Go ahead, Mataji.
ब्रह्मऋषे स्वागतं तेस्त तपसा सतोषितः ब्राह्मण्यं तपसाग्रेण प्राप्तवानसि कौशिका.
Oh, Brahma Rishi, you are welcome. Brahma Rishi, Swagatam, Brahma Rishi. With your tapasya, you have made me very, very happy. And now you have truly achieved the Brahmanhood of your austerities. You did so many austerities, and now I give you the title as Brahma Rishi. But is Vishwamitra happy with that? No. He was not happy with Rajarishi. He was not happy with Maharishi. Now, this is what he was aspiring for, right? But still, Brahma came and gave him the title of Brahma Rishi. And Vishwamitra is like, okay, but Vishwamitra said, I want to be recognized as Brahma Rishi only from Vasishta. Vasishta should come and tell me that I am Brahma Rishi. Then only I will be satisfied. So that's why there is a saying, the title of Brahma Rishi from the mouth of Vasishta. It's very difficult to get that out of the mouth of Vasishta. So then finally, looking at all this, even Vasishta is pleased actually. Vasishta is sent word for, and even Vasishta is very pleased. He appears there. And then finally, Vasishta with his own mouth, he says, in fact, so nicely, Vishwamitra says, actually, he should come and acknowledge that I am a Brahma Rishi and he should have friendship with me. No more fighting, he asks. So that's a very sweet gesture. Because a person who has truly become a Brahmana or truly become a Brahma Rishi should give up such lower tendencies, right? So Vishwamitra, by now, he says he should come and acknowledge me as Brahma Rishi and he should make friendship with me. That's his requirement. So he says, Tatah prasadito daiverve sishto japatam varaha sakyam chakara brahmarishe remastivati chabravit. Then the best one among meditators, Vasishta, had come there and he made friendship with Vishwamitra. He said, Vishwamitra, you are indeed a Brahmarishi. Okay, so now from the mouth of Vasishta, Vishwamitra. But we won't stop here. We will take 2-3 more minutes. And because we have to go back to the story of Ram, this is not Vishwamitra Katha. At the end of the day, it's Ramayana Katha. So we will go back to Lord Ramachandra's story. So like this, the journey of Vishwamitra was being told by Shatananda to Rama and Lakshmana, and they told him he went through so much. He went through so much. And now he has taken you and he has brought you here. Look at the beautiful journey of Vishwamitra. He had so many problems in life: lust, anger, greed, name it, everything was there. But finally, he came to the path of bhakti. He came in the association of Lord Ramachandra. So all of us also, we have this, we have our own journey. We have so many flaws. We have so many impediments. But finally, we can be assured someday, if we are very, very committed to this process, if we are ready to control our lower tendencies, if we are taking shelter of Krishna, eventually we can also progress. So Vishwamitra's story is very, very hope giving. Though we could see so many fall downs, we could see so many mistakes, we can see that we also have all these problems. And even great sages, even they also fall prey to such problems. Then what to talk about us, right? But still, the underlying point there is hope. There is hope. Even Vishwamitra today is such a great personality. He was the one who became the guru of Lord Ramachandra. So, what a great journey Vishwamitra had, and we also have a lot of hope by looking at his story. Okay, so now Shatananda was told this beautiful story of Vishwamitra. Everybody was delighted, and that night they all camped in the city of Mithila. And the next day morning, Janaka Maharaj, he comes back and he says good morning to everybody, and he wishes all of them, and he asks how he can serve them. Of course, he offers Argyam, Padyam, Achamaniyam and all that for the guests, and then he asks them how he can serve. And at that time, Vishwamitra introduces the two boys and he says, yesterday I told you about these two boys. These two boys are great Kshatriyas. They have a desire. They want to see the marvelous bow that is there in your place. They want to come and have a look at the Shiva Dhanush. At that time, Janaka is very happy and he tells the story of the Shiva Dhanush. He tells how he got the position of the Shiva Dhanush. He said, once upon a time, during the Daksha Yajna, when Dakshayani, actually she gave up her life, everybody was very angered. At that time, Lord Shiva, in anger, he twanged his Shiva Dhanush, and later he gave up that Shiva Dhanush. Initially he was angry, but then he gave up that anger and he handed it down as a token to the king by the name Devarata. This Devarata was the sixth king from Nimi in that particular dynasty. So that Devarata, he got possession of this particular Shiva Dhanush, and he handed it down in this generation of different kings. He handed it down in generation of these different kings, and eventually I have got the possession of this bow. Okay, and then he doesn't stop there. He tells that I have a beautiful daughter. Anyone wants to read this one? It's a beautiful verse. Or I can say someone wants to repeat. Okay, Hema Gupta.
अथ मे कृशतक्षेत्रं लङ्गलादुत्थिता मम क्षेत्रं शोर्धयता लब्धा नाम्ना सीतेति विश्रुता.
He tells that I got the possession of this bow, but then one day I was performing a sacrifice, and usually in that ritual field, right? You have the performer of the sacrifice has to plow that field for the ritual to happen. So when I was plowing that field, from the marks of that plow in that furrow, I got a baby. I got a baby girl. Because she appeared from the furrow of the plowing, she came to be known as Sita. So there are two, I've heard two explanations. One is the name of the furrow is Sita. Why some people say that actually the end of the plow that creates the furrow is called as Dasi, and the reverse of Dasi is Sita. So the furrow is called as Sita, and hence the girl baby who came from there is called as Sita. So this is some etymological research that has been done, and that's how they call her as Sita. And he says, That girl has non-uterine birth. She is Ayonija. She's not born from a uterus. And for this girl who came out of that furrow, who's not born out of a uterus, who was seen in the lap of Mother Earth, she's a divine child. She is Ayonija. For her, I have a condition to get her married. I have determined to ask for a Kanya Shulka. Kanya Shulka means, like, you all know what is dowry, right? What is dowry? When you give a girl to a boy, you give some money or you give some gifts for that girl that she can take to her in-laws place. That is called as dowry. That is called as varadakshina. For the vara, you're giving dakshina. Varadakshina, you're giving. But then in those days, varadakshina and all was not very common. What was more common was kanya shulka. That means the boy has to give something to the girl's family and then only the girl will be given. Okay. So kanya shulka. He says, I have determined to have a particular kanya shulka. What is that kanya shulka? It is a virya shulka. He should show his virya. That is, he should show how valorous he is. Virya shulketi me kanya stapite yamayonija. She's ayonija. For her, I am asking a virya shulka. What is that virya shulka? This bow must be strung. This Shivadanush must be strung. So far, nobody has lifted this bow. Nobody has dared to strung that bow. Nobody has dared to twang that bow or take an aim from that bow. It is so heavy and so well made that except Lord Shiva, nobody has come down. No Deva, no Gandharva, no Yaksha, no Rakshasa. Nobody has tried to even lift this bow. So many people tried, but nobody was successful. And Janaka says, I am ready to show it to Rama. He looks at Rama and he says, I am ready to show it to this boy. If he strings it, if he lifts it, I will offer my daughter Sita to Rama. So we will stop here. Hold on to that thought. And then next week, we'll see what Rama does with that book. Any questions? I took 3-4 minutes extra because we started late.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. Beautiful, beautiful session. So I have 2 questions, Mataji. The first one is towards the end only, like you said. So that means Valmiki Ramayana doesn't talk about the Swayamvara.
So,
No Swayamvara. Like, unlike the Tulasi Ramayana,
mm.
mentions that how the Swayamvara was arranged.
Here, actually, there is no description of Swayamvara. Later, when Sita tells Ravana, she says that many kings came and they tried lifting, like how Janaka says here, right? He says many people have tried in the past. So she uses a similar word like Swayamvara and she says, like many kings came and I had the right to choose the person who had lifted the bow. But no formal Swayamvara. It was a Dhanurya. That's all. And because because Vishwamitra wanted Rama to see the bow, he was invited to see the bow. But he says, in the past, many people have come. They have come, they have lifted it, they have failed, and many people have even attacked Mithila because they felt very embarrassed that they couldn't. Janaka says all this. So, but when Rama came, no formal Swayamvara. That is very clear.
And my next question is, Mataji, about Vishwamitra and Trishanku's pastime. Again, the point comes in my mind is that Vishwamitra knew very well that this Trishanku has previously approached Vashishta, where Vashishta and his sons refused him to go in the same same body to Swarga. So Trishanku coming to Vishwamitra and asking for this, how can we understand that it's a Sharanagati? Rather, isn't it because he wants to show that, okay, Vashisht refused, so I will be the one with my Brahma tapasya, I will send you. So wasn't he having that competent nature with Vashishta?
Good question. Everyone asks this question all the time, and it's a very valid question. So now there are 2 points here. One is, for Vishwamitra, what is important? Showing his competition with Vasishta is more important, or the principle of Sharanagati is more important? If you see that, the answer is his principle of giving shelter to the Sharanagata is more important. Why? Because why was he competing with Vasishta? He was competing with Vasishta because he wanted to become a Brahma Rishi. Now, at the cost of giving up the merits of becoming a Brahma Rishi, he was ready to give shelter to the sun. So his principle of Sharanagati was higher than his competitive spirit with Vasishta. So still Vishwamitra is celebrated.
But still, that's not possible, right? So how can one still accept somebody if comes to us and asks for some wrongdoing, and we should still agree, thinking that, oh, that person has approached me and not finding anybody else, so I should ready to help even at that cost? Because Vishwamitra also knew that going to Swarga with the same body is not good. Like,
Going to Swarga with the same body is not good because it is not existing.
yeah,
It
it's
is
not.
not harming anybody, right? So it is not harming anybody. It's not something that exists. So he was not ready to, so nobody was ready to do that for him. Okay. Now, another question that is asked. I mean, I'm not giving an exact answer to the question. If somebody has a wrong intention, first of all, and they come and do Sharanagati to us, okay, you have to kill this person or you have to fight with that person. You will see many such incidences even in many parts of scriptures. Like, for example, Amba went and did Sharanagati to Parashuram. Is that correct? It is wrong. But still, Parashuram will go and fight with Bhishma. But he fought in a way that Bhishma won. So there, now there is another case. If somebody is coming and falling at our feet with an intention of destroying us, okay, with an intention of attacking us, some people do that, right? So then what should you do? Then you should give shelter. This is shown by Lord Ramachandra when he gives Vibhishan Sharanagati. So he says, even if he's my enemy, and if he's
You have
even
one
if-
and a half minutes.
and he's coming coming in the guise of being a good man, still I will give him shelter. That is Lord Ramachandra. Now, can we be Lord Ramachandra? I don't.
No.
Not. Yeah. But then that is the greatness of the Supreme Lord. So we can bow down in front of the Supreme Lord. That much we can do.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. You really answered my question. Thank you so much. Yeah, Parima Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. What a wonderful class and so much to think about. And I had this one question, not a question actually. I had one. I needed to share something that I know, and I don't know if that's true. That firstly, Sita had carried the Dhanush herself, and that she was so strong enough to carry that Dhanush herself. So maybe is her father Janaka thought that I should find a person who is able to carry that Dhanush. Is this mentioned in the Valmiki Ramayana?
It is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, but I had asked this question earlier to find out the reference from where it comes, and apparently answer that I got was it was mentioned in Padma Purana.
Okay.
Okay. And some of the events that are mentioned in Padma Purana are also attributed to a different kalpa. That is another commentary. Because there are certain events that are not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana or not even heard of, but it's there in Padma Purana. There are different retellings. They say it is of a different.
And I had heard this one thing. I don't know how true that is because that could again be from a different kalpa. But I had heard this from actually Sri Vaishnava Sannyasi. They have a very different perspective of looking at everything because it's very different. So he said that after Ramayana, you never come across Vishwamitra. If you see after Ramayana in Dwapar, you don't come across Sri Vishwamitra, and after that also you never come across Sri Vishwamitra in any of the literature. So that's because Lord Ram liberated Vishwamitra because none of his austerities were enough to liberate him, and only Narayana can liberate. That is what these are the words of that son. That is a very bona fide sannyasi, great devotee. From him, I heard this that only Narayana can liberate. They are like ardent worshippers of Narayana and Lakshmi. So he said that only Narayana can liberate, and he was liberated by Lord Ram. Again, I don't know anything, but this is what I heard, and I wanted to share this.
Very
And
nice.
also, yeah,
Yeah,
so
it
only
could
Narayana
be
can liberate.
correct. Correct. It could be true that we don't hear of Vishwamitra after that. Even I have not heard of Vishwamitra after that.
Yeah, that's
So the
true.
whole statement should be correct, and definitely only Narayana can. I mean, that's everybody knows that only
Yeah.
Mukunda can give mukti, right?
Yes, only Narayana can liberate. No, not any austerity, because all the austerity that he did, he kept losing it, right? And also, I don't know if it's true, he had killed 1,000 sons of Vashishta.
He didn't kill; he cursed them.
Oh, is it? Somewhere I heard killed, and that was a great sin. That was, I don't know if it's curse or it's killing. It was a great sin that was lingering in his mind, and that is the and Lord Rama liberated him from that sin and granted him liberation. This is what I've heard. I don't know how true it is, but okay. This is why I'm sharing this, Mataji.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank
That's
you,
a
Mataji. Such a wonderful class. It's always very, very nectarian and a pleasure to hear you, Mataji. It's really a pleasure. And thank you so much for your wonderful service. Dandavat pranams to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Praladananda Prabhu, please go ahead.
Dandavat pranam Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice class. Very nice class, and very nice reflection. This Vishwamitra's story, I have always pondered over that he could perform so many austerities, so many years, and he was in Satya Yuga and all that, and we are in Kali Yuga. Prayan Alpa Ayush Sabya, we are Mantas Madhumata. So what is our chance? What is our chance? That has intrigued me so many times like that. But then I found two slokas which, give me kind of solace. And one of them is Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva initially in I think, fifth chapter, first canto. He says, Tyaktva dharmam charanam bhujam hare bhajan napakota patet tato yadi. Yatra kwa abhadra abhut mushrakim ko vartapta bhajtam sadharmam. So, we keep on, I don't know that, but, myself, I have fallen so many times in practicing, like that. But I have stood up again and again, and tried to improve on myself like that. So that kind of thing is giving me some hope that eventually, okay. Another good sloka I came across in Valmiki Ramayana, only Hari Varidas Prabhu, I was just, listening to his discourse the other day. And I verified with him that this slok belongs to Valmiki slok. It says, Sakrudev Prapanno Yatasmat Tava Smriti Jayaste Abhayam Sarvodat Sarvabhutanam Dadami Yatadvatam. So, I fall down at the feet of Lord Ram every day and tell him that I'm yours, please deliver. Like that. So I think we have some hope. I feel like that, eventually, by mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityanand Prabhu, and Sri Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, we will be able to reach the other shore. It's a saying like that. So thank you very much, Mata. And I really enjoyed I actually take down all the pictures you are putting there, like taking screenshots, so that I had a great desire to hear Valmiki Rusi, this version, because I heard other versions very interestingly from my childhood like that. But this one I didn't have. And then you already started that. So how Lord Krishna, fulfills our desires is also good. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Anyone else has any questions, any comments? Okay. Thank you so much, Preethi Vilasini Mataji. I think so. One question by Rachna Mataji. Yes, hard to understand how Vishwamitra could curse so many to become a Chandala and then also give Sharanagati.
Yeah, maybe if the Chandala goes and falls at his feet, he will. They should have followed this policy.
Yeah, should have understand the heart of Vishwamitra.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for your time, for your association. Wonderful session as usual. And we all look forward to your session. So we can. Okay, Mataji. Let's pay obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. Kripasindhu Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय,
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
प्रभात की जय, रामायण कथा की जय, हर कृष्ण प्रीति।
All glories to all the devotees on the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, I'm ending the call.